is mentioned twice, it has an expression that it was not a coincidence. In fact, I need to submit to you that in the Hebrew language, there is no word coincidence. So every time and everything we read in the scriptures, it is divinely orchestrated by God. And everything is written to us for the purpose of learning, and that we may be able to model our life after what has been exemplified by those who went ahead of us. Every time Paul is talking about Timothy, I see an impression of father and son relationship. They are relating in a way that blessings can be accommodated in that kind of a relationship. There are people who relate. Relationship can contain blessings. Relationship can contain blessing, especially in the spiritual world. Praise the name of the Lord. And so I want to build my discourse upon this kind of expression, and I want to bring it down to our church here in Mwareki, the Higher Life Church, or the church in Kivumbini, the Destiny Connectors Church, or the church in Mawanga, or on your way to Mawanga, or Kiti, or wherever your church is. And I'm seeing something, and this evening, I want to bring to us that there is something beautiful. There is something beautiful if you are a son in a church like this, and your sonship has impact. Your sonship has impact. Time is not there, but Paul is not only talking about one person in his letters, but he sometimes talk about people who gave him tough time in the ministry. He's mentioning names of people who made it very difficult for him to preach and to penetrate in some areas. And sometimes, unknowingly, we can find ourselves there. In the morning, I was telling my audience that it is very easy to be an agent of the devil in a church. I said that. And I said it on this perspective, that every time the devil uses you to discourage the pastor, you are there on a mission. And the mission is not divine, it is diabolic. May God abort that mission before it is accomplished. In fact, I was telling them from very fundamental thing that when you miss church, you discourage the pastor. I'm saying that when you miss church, you discourage the pastor. Because every time we are preparing a sermon, we are preparing with you in mind. And so we are seeing here in the scriptures a relationship, and I want to recommend that this is what the New Testament church, this is the structure of the New Testament church. I don't know where you have come from, but as a student of religion, I know diverse structures of church administration. And some of them, they lock out the spirit of sonship and fatherhood in a church. There are churches whose structure of leadership is gerontocratic. That is a situation where we have the elders who are paying the pastor. And so if the pastor is paid by the elders, he cannot be the father of that church. If the pastor can be transferred by the elders, he cannot be a pastor of that church. And that's why, and unfortunately, most of us, we stem from such structures. And so sometimes we struggle to align with the apostolic pattern that we are seeing in the scripture. The idea was we relate. And that was the last prophetic word in the Bible. I'll get to that. God introduced the concept when he sent to us his one and only Son. And the relationship between Christ and God was in a way that the Son is dependent to the Father. And the Father is using the Son to accomplish his purpose on the planet Earth. Is talking about Timothy. And is saying to Timothy, my son in the Lord. To Timothy, my dearly beloved son. Pastor Grace ameingia, tumpigie makofi. Now, just think about yourself. Think about yourself. If pastor would recommend you, apeane recommendation yako, anaweza kusema namna gani kukuhusu? Kuna kijana ambaye alikuwa anakuja kanisa yetu kitambo. Lakini alikuwa anakujaga kama tumetoa sadaka, anakuja kama kila kitu inaenda kuisha, na anakuja anamaliza. So lakini ameninyima nafasi ya kumchunga. Kwa hivyo siwezi kuelezea hulka zake. Hasa katika ijara mnayomtakia, siwezi kumpendekeza kama mtu mwaminifu. Na nikaandika pale chini, mumchukue kwa masaibu yenu. No, Kiingereza unaandika you take him on your own risk. Alafu nikaweka hiyo barua kwa bahasha, nikafunga na gam ile ya viatu. Akapeleka. Alipopeleka, hajawahi rudi kanisa. Hajawahi kurudi. But think about yourself. If we are to recommend you, Paul is writing letters to churches. And one in Romans chapter 16, he is writing a letter to a church. And he's saying, oh, you're not there. I commend unto you Phoebe, our sister, which is a servant of the church which is in Cenchrea. That you receive her in the Lord as becometh saint, and that you assist her in whatever business she has need of. For she has been a succorer of many, and of myself also. You know, this one reminds us on how churches used to operate. Hii mambo ya kuhamahama kanisa haikuaga. Hii unahama, hii unaenda ya jirani, hii umefukuzwa, hiyo unaenda unakuwa kiongozi wa praise and worship. Haikuwa hivyo, because the church by this time, this is approximately 56 years AD. So the church was young, the church was new, and the church understood, it knew itself. So there is no visitor in Bahati. There is no visitor in Kambazi. The church was one. And that's how the church is supposed to be. So what was happening is that if you are to travel, uhame uende Kambazi, unaniambia pastor, niandikie barua, nipatie mchungaji wa huko, ndio